Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 9th, 2026 special closed session meeting. We're starting tonight at 5:30. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante,
Here.
Councilmember Claudia Aruna,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Elizabeth Aruna,
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Hand over your heart. Say it along with me.
Thank you. Look up there. I can see the bald spot. Thank you very much. Okay. How embarrassing.
We're, first item is public communications on our closed session. Is there anyone on Zoom or otherwise? Okay, then I will close public communications and we will recess to our closed session.
We can announce the item, Mayor.
Oh, sure, sorry. Would you announce the item, please, for?
Go ahead.
Recess to closed session, item 2A, conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code 54956.8. Property 478 4th Place, Solvang, California, APN 139173014. Agency negotiator Randy Murphy, city manager. Negotiating party CRA Solvang, RE LLC. Under negotiation, both price and terms. Item 2B, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. Initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, one potential case.
Thank you very much. We are convened. Reconvened. What's the right word?
Welcome back. We're back from closed session. Madam Attorney, is there any reportable action, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. There is no reportable action on either item. So that's item 2A, conference with real property negotiators, no reportable action, and item 2B, conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we are adjourned from our closed session at 6:10, and we'll start the open session at 6:30. Thank you.
new chambers.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Solvang Council meeting on March 9th, 2026. We'll begin at 6:30 this evening. Before we move forward, I'd ask everyone to silence their phones and avoid any rotary fines for having it go off in the middle of the meeting. I see a couple Rotarians out there that'd be happy to fine you for that. So roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante.
Here.
Councilmember Claudia Arona.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here.
Thank you.
And we have a special guest, Ian Jacobson. Would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hands on your heart. Ready to go? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have a proclamation this evening that I will read in honoring Tracy Beard upon her retirement coming up March 24th. Whereas Tracy Beard began serving as Executive Director of the Solvang Chamber of Commerce in August 2015 and has provided more than a decade of dedicated leadership in strengthening the economic vitality of the city of Solvang and the greater San Ynez Valley. And whereas during her tenure, she advanced local economic development by launching economic summits, leading State of the City events, and championing initiatives such as Shop the Heart of Santa Ynez Valley and Jingle Mingle to promote Solvang businesses and tourism. And whereas Tracy supported Hispanic-owned and at-risk businesses through partnerships with the Economic Development Collaborative and Small Business Development Center during and beyond the pandemic, and secured a $250,000 economic development partnership with the city of Solvang in 2017 and 2018 to support businesses and workforce development. And whereas her leadership and impact have been recognized through honors including the 2020 Congressional Woman of the Year award presented by Congressman Salud Carbajal, recognition as one of the Pacific Coast Business Times top 50 most influential women, Rotary Ethics Award recipient, and recipient of Telly Bronze and Gold Awards for regional commercial production benefiting the city of Solvang. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor David Brown, along with the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, hereby honor and recognize Tracy Beard for her outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the Solvang Chamber of Commerce and the broader Santa Ynez Valley community, and extend sincere appreciation and best wishes upon her retirement. In witness thereof, I have unto here set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Solvang, California, to be affixed this 9th day of March, 2026. Congratulations to Tracy Beard. She's not here, but I believe we'll present this at the Economic Summit on Friday. So when you see her, please send her congratulations on behalf of the city and all her endeavors. Retirement, wow, sounds great. Okay, moving to the next item. We have no presentations, so we'll open it up for public communications. Would you like to read that into the record real quick?
At this time, you may address council on items not on the agenda and on consent. Time limit is 3 minutes. We will start with in-person public comments first.
We have one request from Susie Townsend.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm just here about the STR homestay issue, and I'm just here to ask that you consider amending the current STR ordinance to include homestays, and I ask that you consider expanding the area which they are allowed to allow more residents to participate. The homestay program is 100% enforceable, just along with the STR program, with the software program that you have now that keeps everything available to you. Homestays are essentially self-policing as the owner lives on site. A homestay can significantly increase the ability for many of us longtime residents to remain in place, as well as we approach retirement, looking for ways to supplement our income. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Sorry, my mic went off. Is there anyone else that has any public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our city manager's report and advanced calendar, please.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I have a few things. We just had our most recent cleanup done over here at Lot 5, coordinated with Waste Management. They reported it was another successful event with just under 10,000 pounds or just under 5 tons of debris collected from Solvang residents. Going back to Q4 of last year, because it was a rainy day, we had just under 3 tons. Quarter 3 was 7.5 tons, which is the all-time record, according to them, for waste picked up in Solvang. And then going back to Q1 of last year, it was 5.78 tons. So we're about a ton less. So either we're not consuming as much or we're getting rid of more, or we don't have as much built up anymore. So that's a good sign. The next cleanup day is going to be Saturday, May 16th. So we're putting reminders out about that. Also, a reminder about the ADA survey that's out currently. We have it on our website and our Facebook page. It's a self-evaluation and transition plan for the city of Solvang. We're looking for input from the community and organizations assisting persons with disabilities. Your feedback will assist in addressing and prioritizing current and future accessibility needs. And that information is available on our website, www.cityofsolvang.com. There's also a survey out there for Friedensburg Canyon. We've talked about that a few times. That survey ends on March 20th. The ADA survey ends on April 30th. So March 20th is at Friedensburg Canyon to talk about the one-way there for traffic as a possible solution. And then we have a couple of upcoming items at the next council meeting on the 23rd. There will be a presentation of the draft Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And we're also going to award the construction contract for the Alamo Pintado Road Rehabilitation Project. That's the section north of Viborg to the city limit, just about where Sunnyfield is. And there's also going to be a presentation from their marketing team to recap 2025. So there's a couple of long items on that agenda. So bring some popcorn and settle in because we'll be here for a little bit. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Any questions of the city manager? Wow, must be something's going right. Okay, we'll move on to item 5. If you'd read that into the record, please.
Item 6, consent is for routine
item 5.
administrative city matters and is approved with one motion. These items are discussed only in request of
Excuse me.
council members.
We're item 5, ex parte.
Excuse me. Oops. Government Code, Section 53232.3D, AKA AB 1234, and Government Code, Section 84308, AKA SB 1439, report out. Ex parte communications, council comments, requests.
Thank you.
Blame it on the time change.
Any reports? Go ahead.
I have, since our last meeting, I attended our Eastern Management Association, JPA, Water Board meeting, where I was acting as chair. And then I also attended a internal staff meeting with the sheriff's office and reviewed some of the data that we're seeing in our consent agenda today. I do have some comments that I'd like to make, but I'll wait and save those for, maybe let everybody else speak first. It'll probably take a minute.
Okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that I attended the WWCF, which is actually the Women Winemakers and Culinarians Foundation event on Saturday. I was a participant, I was a chef. It's a great event, and I just want to sort of say thank you to everybody that attended and all the chefs that were there, and all the winemakers. Santa Barbara County has the most female winemakers in all of the United States. I think I've mentioned that before. Fabulous event, raised a lot of money for women-oriented programs, scholarships, and it was just a fantastic event. So I'm sorry if you missed it, and if you were there, thank you.
What was the dish that you served?
I did my Italian roast beef sliders.
Oh.
They went fast.
I shouldn't have asked before dinner. I'm sorry. Marty, or do you have anything?
I have nothing to report this time.
The only thing I would suggest, or I'm sorry, the only thing I attended was the GSA meeting, and I also went to the Women Winemakers and Culinary Foundation and was eating some of her food and drinking large amounts of wine.
Good.
That's it.
Okay. I have a
I think it's
quick program. Of course, my
What?
computer went out. Go ahead.
I have some comments. I wanted to make a comment because at the end of our last meeting, there was some information that was shared with the council, and it occurred to me that I wanted to say that it was news to me and a surprise. So I think there's an implied transparency and trust contract between council and our city leadership and the public. And so I wanted to just simply disclose that I was unaware until our last meeting that the mayor was in a business that is a unique business with regard to the city of Solvang. And I'm going to make a request of our staff. And initially I asked for the address of this particular issue to be done in closed session, but I was also informed that we can't do closed session without consensus or without direction from attorneys, from our city council. So what I would like to just simply say is if the business community did not hear from some of us, it was because we were not disclosed or unaware of the mayor's role in a particular new business venture. And I want to be responsible to those businesses, the businesses who are very vital to our city and vital to converting tax revenue into public services. So I want to, out of respect for those relationships, to be very clear that if they were expecting us to act, I can speak for myself, I was unaware. So I do want to just take a moment and say why this is of concern to me in particular. It's not that the mayor's in business. We're a small town. We have, but through many years, dealt with leaders of the city who have businesses, and we work through those issues to avoid areas of conflict. This particular business and the nature of the business that the mayor is launching plans to earn revenue in a way that is.
Councilmember Arona,
Yes.
I believe this is getting a little too in the weeds for something that's not on the agenda.
Well, this is my area of comment,
If you could
and I will be
limit-
asking for direction.
Okay, if we could get to the direction to staff. that
I'm
would
going to
be-
justify why I'm asking the direction.
Okay. Just want to
Okay.
avoid an extended discussion on something that's not on the agenda.
So let me make my points. Legal counsel really only gave us advice with regard to the potential conflict as it relates to filing for disclosures of areas of financial interest, not potential conflicts if there are broader concern, and therefore you are seeing something on our public agenda later in item 8C. That's not my area of comments. My area of comments is that the mayor is the CEO of this business that is building an application that acts as a concierge through the city of Solvang. And the application raises a conflict since it's marketing to our 1.5 million visitors and marketing certain selected businesses to those visitors to the city. Some select businesses, but not others. Some select businesses and not all. The app actually creates incentives to visit these select businesses, but leaves other businesses out. And for that promotion, the mayor is asking for those businesses to pay him $250 a month for that treatment over others. That necessarily creates a area of confusion for our potential confusion for our businesses. Where can our businesses be sure that the mayor is acting on the public's behalf,
Councilmember Arona,
all stakeholders'
could-
behalfs, or those that are participating in his model?
Again, I think this is getting outside the scope of what is allowed or envisioned by council comments. If you could please give any direction to staff for what we can bring back on a future agenda to discuss this item, so it may be.
I'd like the council, I'll address the council, to agree to ask the staff to issue a decease and refrain to the mayor for his specific business to avoid a number of gray areas of potential conflict. Those areas include use of City of Solvang assets, slogans, and brands, the potential for decision-making as mayor that would affect ordinances, permits, status of business certificates, whether a business would be treated in favor because they're paying the mayor the $250 per month, or difficulty and resistance because they are not paying the mayor $250 a month. So the major issues are not only will this conflict be constant in our decision-making as a council, but in his role as making key decisions, it will be disruptive for us as a solidly functioning council
If I may,
to have him constantly recuse himself from key decisions.
Councilmember Arona, if I may, I believe you've asked the council whether they would like to direct staff to take an action to issue a cease and disdain to the mayor regarding his business. I would like to clarify that at this meeting, because it's not on the agenda, there's no action that can be taken. At most, council, a majority of which would have to agree, could direct staff to bring something back at a future agenda regarding the mayor's application or business, but they can't take that action tonight because it's not on the agenda.
So how do we put it on the agenda?
You ask whether there's a majority of the council that would be interested in directing staff to bring something back at a
So-
future meeting.
We had that discussion, Chelsea, and I asked if we could put it on the agenda, and it was made clear that we needed to have consensus.
As we discussed prior, the procedure for adding an item on the agenda by a council member is at a meeting to ask if other council members, you need a majority of the council, you don't need consensus, you need a majority. If a majority of the council would like to direct staff to bring that item back at a future meeting. So that's what you can do tonight. We just can't, they can't take, the council cannot take action on your request tonight. They can only take action to direct staff to bring it back at a future meeting.
But I think that's what I'm asking, right? Because
That's what I wanna
we
clarify.
can't form or write a desist and refrain right now. We have to ask staff to go take that action.
And
And
I
you're
think we're going to
saying it
have to
needs to be on the
investigate
agenda.
what exactly that is and looks like, because staff does not police the private business entities of council members in that way, but we can look into it if directed by the majority of the council. So I think at this point, with Mayor Brown, I would suggest that you do not participate in this particular action. We don't need a formal vote, but Mayor Pro Tem, if you'd like to ask the rest of the council if they are interested in bringing an item back per Councilmember Arona's request.
If this is the appropriate time, then I do ask the council if you are interested in bringing this back at a later time.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
It's 3-1.
Anything else?
No.
I just wanted to say I want to congratulate our Parks and Recreation Department for the new grass that exists. Looks great. With regards to, I don't know if you remember, but we had Eagle Scout Leo Bernstein. Actually, it was an Eagle project. He presented to us on flag etiquette. And it came about that one of our citizens complained that there was a flag that wasn't at half-mast, and it was shortly around the time where we were remembering President Carter's passing. And it wasn't because they weren't being patriotic. They just didn't know about what was the proper procedure for when to be at half-mast and when not. So anyway, Leo Brownstein presented to our council and the community, and I was at his Eagle Court of Honor on Saturday. It was a wonderful event. So glad to be at that, and congratulate Leo. And then I was with our city manager and doing a site visit near Riverview Park with Mayor Silva last 2 weeks ago, roughly. And I guess because it's been brought up in reference to the business, it is a new business. It's an embryonic business, and but there are no city assets that are being used in that. It's a game, a tourist game called Solvang Passport, and anybody's welcome to download it and see what they think of it. I've been transparent as best I can, and then also I've received council communications and direction as to subscriptions and pricing and the like. And I can say that there's been no conflict of interest and no consideration for any of that. So we'll move on to item 6, consent items.
Consent is for routine administrative city matters and is approved with one motion. These items are discussed only on request of council members. Members of the public were afforded an opportunity to speak during the public communications portion of this agenda.
I would like to pull item E.
Okay. Any others?
Can I make a comment before before making a motion to approve everything but E? I just want to point out that the sheriff data that we received is really dashboard information. It's not the detailed data that we should be getting. They're having some challenges converting from one system to another. So I think, Randy, if you concur, we should see more detailed data on a regular basis, and that is the first sampling.
Yeah, this is just what they can retrieve right now. We'll be getting more detailed information in the near future.
Yeah. I was considering pulling that item, but to what benefit? Quite honestly, it's in my opinion woefully a report. But
Their reasoning is that they're converting systems and they don't have the ability to get information out of it. We will be having Travis, our police chief here, making a presentation similar to what Garrett Huff did a few weeks ago, and he'll be bringing that information to have a lot more data at that time. And we're hopeful by the new fiscal year, July 1, we'll have more detailed information on a quarterly basis.
thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve consent items 6A, B, C, D, F, and G.
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve items 6A, B, C, D, F, and G. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante?
Yes.
Councilmember Claudia Arona?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, let's, what are your concerns with item E?
All right. So we talked about it. We talked about what kind of short-term rentals are allowed in Solvang, how many and why. My concern is regarding homestays. Let me see if I can pull it up. So it says that there's no notification that shall be required for homestay, home-occupied short-term rentals, but I don't know if there's, maybe I'm missing it, but I'm not seeing anywhere else in the ordinance where homestays are defined or where they are allowed, for that matter.
Or, Raphael,
Or
as a
if they
question,
are
or
allowed at
if
all.
we're silent on them and they're, yeah, exactly. If we not define them, then there's no penalty for participating in a homestay or offering one. So the inverse is still a question.
Right.
So Raphael and I were just conferring, and thank you, Member Arona, for pointing this out. Earlier versions of the ordinance, when it was still in development, had provisions on homestay, and I think the one mention that you've identified is just like a typo line that we meant to delete when we got the direction from you all to not address homestays. So the fix would be to delete that sentence rather than, it's not intended to be, not defined and regulating it without defining it. I think the intent was to just not provide for homestays separately.
Sorry, could you point out where that sentence is, what we're referring to?
It's, when I search it, it's in subsection M of section, scrolling, 11, 12, 20. And there's no page numbers on the link that I clicked, but.
No, but it's an M on...
6 of 13, I think. Yeah, page 6 of, if you're looking at that specific link for that ordinance in the hyperlinked agenda.
Yeah, it is the last sentence. Mm-hmm. And to confirm, yes, this was supposed to be eliminated out since it was given council direction to not at this point, not include homestays. And then the last council meeting direction was to revisit the ordinance after a year worth of implementation to discuss potential green lighting of homestays.
Okay, so just to clarify, does that mean that, homestays are allowed in general, that we're not regulating them? What does that mean if they're left out?
They are allowed in the VMU only. So if a homeowner opts to do a homestay, that would be allowed. But generally speaking, what the public comment was in the comment letter is to allow them in other zones outside of the VMU. So at this point in time, the way the ordinance is written is they would be allowed in the VMU only, as we make no differential between a owner-occupied / homestay or a non-owner occupied / second home.
Okay, my question, is that clear in the code? Because it's,
I think other than this one errant reference to homestay, a homestay is a type of short-term rental, and so we're just not regulating them differently.
so short-term rentals, homestays is the same thing for our purposes.
Yes. In earlier versions of the ordinance, we had proposed potential different regulations for homestays because, they other jurisdictions sometimes regulate them differently because the host is on site. But given the direction that we got from council, we moved to just regulating them as just like any other short-term rental. So any place, like the VMU where short-term rentals are allowed, you could have a homestay as a short-term rental. They're just not differentiated under the code at this point, other than that one sentence we missed.
Okay, so that answers my question.
But if we revisit the logic and some of the thinking, I mean, I would be open to revisiting this maybe sooner than a year out because, and I know it means more work if we don't pass something tonight for you, Raphael. But the logic, as I recall, was we were conscious of rental or vacation rentals, short-term vacation rentals in neighborhoods, which disrupted the expected, way of life in these neighborhoods or expectation out of a neighborhood, which maybe wouldn't necessarily have the same impact with a homestay. And the other logic was we did not want to interfere or, inhibit housing.
Right.
And it feels like that doesn't apply here if we were to consider homestays outside of the VMU.
The easier thing to do is, and while we can bring it sooner, is to implement the program first. Let's get the online permitting portal open for the direction that's been given. At about 6 months, maybe the mark, to bring that back with a couple options that the council can weigh in on in regards to homestays.
I'm open to that. I just worry that 6 months, if someone's got a homestay and that's how they're keeping, augmenting their income in a time when, affordability is really tough, 6 months might be too far out.
Understandable. The other alternative, as mentioned to the speaker earlier, is that the city does not regulate stays after over 30 days. So they most certainly can advertise for stays on Airbnb or Furnish Finder, or there are other sites that accommodate stays greater than 30 days. This ordinance doesn't affect that. They're able to utilize those sites as well.
Feels
Is that something you can put on a calendar for a 6-month period for us to revisit?
We can.
Let's do that.
And if depending on workload, if we can bring it sooner, we most certainly can. Again, the biggest issue is just getting the implementation part and working with our software vendor to get the application online up and running and the TOT collection up and running, and then bring the homestays back to the council.
So can I say we'll be so busy with that, we aren't really going to be over onerous on regulating
No, not at all.
participation?
No. There are two facets to the software system. The current one that we have now does the sort of, it doesn't do the sort of, it does the regulation aspect of it. We have to greenlight the other portion, which is the portal and the tax collection.
I think it makes sense to implement a program to regulate this before, saying that we're going to allow something and then backtracking. So, yeah, in the meantime, I guess pursuing,
Sounds like we're in
longer term.
agreement to bring it back. It's just a function of when. Yeah.
And if I may, if you're going to make a motion for second reading and adoption of this ordinance tonight, it would be with the amendment to delete the last sentence.
Clean it up, okay.
Yeah, of section 11, 12, 20M.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, well, that I will make a motion to approve ordinance number 26-0390 with the corrections noted.
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded for the approval as modified, item 6E. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante,
Yes.
Councilmember Claudia Rona,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Okay. We have no public hearings, so we'll go straight to item 8A. If you would read that into the record, please.
Introduced for first reading ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 1, Flood Plan Management of Title 13, Flood Control of the Solvang Municipal Code to comply with National Flood Insurance Program NFIP requirements.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
I thought Bridget might be coming up. So this item is, excuse me, let me pull up the staff report on that. Apologies. I was ready for the next one. Okay. So the city of Solvang participates in the National Flood Insurance Program, and that is a federal program put on by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which we all know as FEMA. And FEMA issues flood insurance rate maps, and they recently issued new ones for Santa Barbara County. They kind of like on a rolling basis. I forget the exact frequency, but they update them on a somewhat regular basis. And at that point, we have to make some updates to follow the new maps. And then the state agency also identified several amendments that we needed to make to, which is the California Department of Water Resources, notified us that we needed to make several amendments to our flood control ordinance to be consistent with state law. And so all this ordinance is doing is making those technical updates to our flood control regulations. And those are described in the staff report in more detail, but a lot of it is, updating references to FEMA's technical, tools that they use, or, updating definitions to be consistent with the federal regulations. Again, this is all things that we need to do to maintain our participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. And if we don't do that, then that could have consequences for property owners in our flood hazard areas, because we need to be in compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program in order to get be eligible for federal grants and loans. And, there's several consequences listed in the staff report there. So it is important that we follow through with the recommended updates that the state has suggested. And I'm happy to take any questions on the ordinance. We did provide a red line because it looks like a lot, but when you look at the red line version, you can see it's really kind of small edits.
Appreciate that you shared the red line. So much easier. Did I miss something, or was there supposed to be a map or some images of what was updated, sort of findings?
So the map update is handled separately by FEMA. We're not actually updating like a local map. We just need to refer to the correct FEMA map in our regulations. So there's like the cross-reference is updated, but we're not adopting a specific map or approving a map tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
no.
this is not in reference that anything's changed with those maps? Okay.
Well,
Just the
FEMA
language?
FEMA did go through the process of updating the maps, and they came out last year. They're going to be effective as of June this year, I believe. And so we need to have our regulations ready by that time. So when the new maps go into effect, we're going to be reconciled with those new maps. But the last year when we were discussing updated flood maps, that's all the same map that we're talking about right now.
Thank you.
It's a good question.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Is there anybody, I have no slips presently. Is there anybody that wishes to add to this conversation? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, we will then close it to public comment, seeing as none, and bring it back to the dais for conclusion. Is there a motion from anyone or more
I'll
discussion?
make a motion to introduce for first reading ordinance of Chapter 1 of Title 3 of the Solvang Municipal Code to comply with National Flood Insurance Program requirements.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded for the approval of item 8A. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante,
Yes.
Councilmember Claudia Rona.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 8B, as in Baker. And would you read that into the record, please?
Introduced for first reading ordinance number 260392, amending sections 8-3-1, 8-3-2, 8-3-3, 8-3-5, 8-3-6, and 8-3-8 of Title 8 Public Ways and Property, Chapter 3 Street and Sidewalk Obstructions of the Solvang Municipal Code to regulate queuing in the public right-of-way and upgrade, strengthen the city's commercial solicitation regulations, and make other clarifying edits.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And first, I'd like to apologize to Anna Marie for making her read all those sections. This ordinance grew over time as we started working with the Chapter 8-3. And so we added more edits along the way, and I, in retrospect, should have consolidated that title for you. So this ordinance is coming before you as kind of the next installment of the city's efforts to increase our ability to enforce our code and create some stronger tools to regulate our public right-of-ways. And there's two main themes here. One is to add some language to more directly regulate lining up or queuing in the public right-of-way. We have businesses in town where quite popular, line gets long, ends up blocking the sidewalk, blocking the door to another business. So the language proposed here would give code enforcement a way to work with those businesses to, either give them an appropriate encroachment permit so that whatever line can be in the public right of way in a way that does not block access for pedestrians, ADA access, or to other businesses, ingress and egress out of other buildings. And also it prohibits blocking the right of way in that way. So that gives code enforcement a little stronger tools to help make sure that we maintain our public rights of way and sidewalks to be accessible for everyone while still basically managing and organizing queuing out in the public right of way. And then the second bucket is to address aggressive solicitation in the public right of way. We want certainly our public spaces to be open and available for people to express themselves, but at the same time, commercial activity and in a way that is accosting pedestrians going by is not something that the city wants to foster. So this These amendments give the city a stronger basis to monitor and regulate solicitation, commercial activities on the public right-of-way in a way that still maintains adequate space for free speech. So happy to, and then along the way, we caught some cleanup cross-references and such in this chapter. So we're, as part of our ongoing efforts to modernize and clean up the code, we caught a few of those as well. So I'm happy to take any questions that you have. But again, this is, kind of another iteration of bolstering things.
I had a quick question. Why are we considering both of these in the same action?
Because they're in the same part of the code. So it kind of made sense. It's all chapter 8-3 of the code, and it's all relating to activities on our public rights of way. So to us, it made sense to bring them, even though they're kind of motivated maybe by somewhat different ideas. Since it's in the same chapter of the code, we thought it made sense to holistically edit instead of take one section here, one section there.
Separated circumstances are significantly different for the actions and the solutions.
Yes, and we had kind of drafted them separately, but we realized they were making changes to the same sections of the code, and so that's why we brought them together.
And one of my questions is, how frequent is the queue issue with the lines and the...
Defer that to City Manager Randy.
I've been here almost 3 years, and I've had at least half a dozen complaints, actual formal type email complaints. There have been numerous comments about the queuing, in particular on the weekends and things like that, when there's a lot of people, and concern raised about individuals having to step into the traveled way, the road. So there's some concerns about that.
Okay.
Along those lines, how fast, what's the turnaround expectation if someone were to request city approval for review of the right-of-way and how it gets used for queuing in lines? I can see a scenario where seasonally one business is surprised by the crush. They realize, and if they didn't already anticipate with the city and receive their permit, how would we anticipate they would make that request in an urgent situation?
Well, we don't have anybody that processes the permits in the room right now, but typically they are pretty quick, within a couple of weeks.
Or would we advise businesses, if they think that would ever become an issue through a year's window of time, that they should request that status?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly advisable to be proactive.
And I had a question, maybe these are some of the conflicts that you already caught, Chelsea. On section 8E, there's just the way it's written, it says that a bicycle, scooter, something human-propelled scooter, and bicycles cannot be on the sidewalk or public street. So where would a bicycle go?
Okay, let me...
I think we want bicycles in Solvang, but if we prohibit them from the sidewalk and the public street, I think that is too limiting.
Section 8
Section 8E.
Sorry, so it's section 8-3 something and then a letter. So what? I guess I should just.
I'm sorry. Well, maybe I'm in the ordinance, Chelsea, or the packet, I should say, on page 6,
We need page numbers.
section 8, letter E. That single paragraph.
Yeah.
Oh. So that is actually existing code language, and all we're doing in that section is changing it currently says central business district, and that's defined, and we're just changing it to village mixed use.
Understood.
So we didn't change the rest of that.
But I think we need to rethink this.
raises the
It's
question.
too limiting. That suggests we can't have a bicycle anywhere in the VMU. I mean, well, where else would they ride?
I think we just need to delete or a public street, right?
I just revisit the language because
I think so. This is a grammatical conundrum, maybe, but I think it's supposed to be ride a bicycle upon a sidewalk, or skateboards aren't allowed on sidewalks or public streets. That's how I read that. So if that's what the council's comfortable with,
I know.
but we could clarify it.
Yeah, I'll also note that it doesn't mention rollerblades or roller skates. I'm happy about that.
Roller skater in the house. Yep. But certainly, I see how you're reading it, Madam Councilmember Arona. So, not opposed to adjusting that. Frankly, the only reason why this part's in here is because we were just trying to get the VMU consistent throughout the code.
So we would allow bicycles on the public street, on,
That's how I'm reading this. I think my guess is that's how it was supposed to be read. Is that a bicycle? You can't ride a bicycle on the sidewalk,
Right.
And you can't do a skateboard or a human-propelled scooter on a sidewalk or a public.
well,
street.
we need some comma or something in there. We need to edit that.
And we also have, don't forget, you've got a lot of e-bikes and things, so that's another concern.
100%. No, I agree they should not be on the sidewalk or just questioning public street. So let's revisit that language. The same is, I found trouble with the above on the same page, item D2. Solicitations related to business authorized by or conducted by the property owner, business owner, or employees thereof on business premises. So I'm struggling, so we're saying, if you're not an employee on the business premise, where would you? This doesn't make sense to me, and it seems to contradict item B.
Yes, so this is trying to clarify that if you're standing on your business, like inside your business, and you're like talking to or heard outside of your business, we can't regulate what they're saying on their own private property or regulate their conduct inside in this way. So this is trying to carve out the fact that if the property owner, business owner, employees, people authorized to be there essentially are soliciting while on their own business premises, this ordinance would not affect that activity.
So inside their threshold. Okay.
Yeah. And that's kind of working around relevant case law on this type of commercial activity.
Is there I don't see anything in here. So if we have a business that consistently has that problem with having people lined up down the sidewalk, we got a couple of those businesses. Do we provide them with any opportunity to create an area where those people can stand, sit, whatever you're going to do with them, so they're not lined up and blocking the other businesses?
Yes, so this doesn't regulate whether or how they have people line up or organize on their own private property, right? So they have multitude of options that way. To the extent that their patrons are going to be lining up on the public right of way, if they will need to get an encroachment permit for that, and that's where we would have conditions in there showing it's not that they can't line them up if they get the permit, but they would, have a bollards or, somehow show them where they need to line up so it's not in front of somebody else's business or blocking an exit from another building, or just plain, there's some instances I understand where they're just plain blocking straight across the sidewalk and pedestrians can't get past. So the idea is to allow an avenue for the line to take place, but in a way that allows for the free flow of pedestrians and in and out of businesses and through the sidewalk.
But if the business does not have the space to do that, an encroachment permit on a other space close by can be applied?
So we are only going to be issuing encroachment permits on the public right-of-way. If they want to try to have their line pass through another business's private property, that would be between the property owners.
Okay. Thank you.
And there's other technology too, where they give you the fob or the I think that buzzes at you, right? So you don't have to stand in line. So that's another way they could handle it. We're not gonna, make them do that, but to the extent that they want to use the public right of way, this is establishing a process to do that and give us a chance to put some standards on it.
I'm thinking of one business in particular, which we all know. Excuse me. And there is no place for them to stand. There's no place for them to go. It's either going to block another business or they're going to go out in the street. So if they can get a permit to open up or utilize a piece of the parking in front of that particular business and put benches there or something like that, is that an option? I don't see anything in here that allows for that, is what I'm looking for.
Those spaces are on their private property.
The parking spaces?
Yes. I've been told that, so it's my understanding that they are on their private property, so they can eliminate those parking places and have a queue back and forth like they do at Disneyland that I just spent 3 days at. And again, this is the idea. They could also get an encroachment from the city that could queue them up in a line and have stanchions or some kind of rope or whatever and go down the block. But they would be required to make sure that the people stayed in the line and were accommodating to the adjacent businesses. Or as Chelsea pointed out, there are technologies available now, relatively inexpensively, that they can have a fob or a text to notify their patrons that their table is ready. They don't have to line up then.
We'll see how that works.
Any other questions? Do you have any questions?
You want
Okay.
anything else?
I had a question on section 2A. No person shall place or cause to be placed anywhere upon the public street, way, sidewalk, or otherwise. I mean, that would, most of our issues are during Yule Fest. I mean, according to this, section 2A, we wouldn't even be able to put up a Christmas tree on the sidewalk that we do now.
Yeah, so again, this is another example where this is basically existing language. And this is pretty typical for a public rights of way section. It gives the ability for basically you can't just like park stuff on the sidewalk. I think the good example is when you're unloading and loading things, you want people to do it
Right.
quickly and not just,
Agreed.
put all their stuff on the sidewalk and leave it there. I think this is quite broad, and Christmas trees and such like that are holiday elements. I mean, we have enforcement discretion if it's something that is not in the way. We can allow it.
Well, Mr. Manager, you mentioned that it was approximately 2 weeks to get an encroachment permit. And how much do they cost?
That I don't know either, but it's a standard fee. If Wendy's still around, she can answer the question.
Okay.
Is it basically equivalent to sort of administrative cost? Yeah.
Yes.
So a couple $100.
And is that encroachment for the year? Is it for a day? Is it for, how's that determined?
Depends on what you need, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
there's the encroachment permit issue is a whole other can of worms, ball of wax, whatever you want to refer to it as. And that will be coming back for further discussion at some point later this year. Because there have been encroachment permits granted to businesses on a permanent basis with no consideration to liability and a whole lot of other things. So for purposes of this particular issue, I suspect it will be on an annual basis. But that's not been decided at this point.
Thank you.
I would think we should consider that window of time as an annual window or decide on what that window of time should be. But to me, this is a common problem, especially on weekends. And I think we all know which businesses are going to be, moving in this direction with us. So I wouldn't want to be overly onerous on, it was work with them once on how to manage, thoroughfares and public walkways and access to their business, but access to other businesses as well, and do it thoroughly, do it once and let it work for a year and then revisit it.
And I should say too, I'm just going to speak for Raphael a little bit here, but I think his approach is very collaborative. The part of my job is to write the tools and the code so that he has the enforcement tools, but the approach of the city is often talk to the business, figure out a way to make it work. It's not going to be citation immediately, right? So if we're coming up with this new program where there's an option for an encroachment permit, there's going to be a period where Raphael's team will be, and code enforcement will be talking to any businesses that potentially would need a encroachment permit and working that out, like you're saying, in a collaborative way.
Well, I think there's one business in particular I'm thinking of that has a sidewalk I'll call it a vending. It's not the right description. Where they, provide their product in the window on the sidewalk, and that,
It's a walk-up window.
it's like a Solvang branded thing. So
Yeah.
people come from miles around to have that experience, and we should work with them. And we know that that's going to be a common experience in a common situation, and do it once, and then, work from there.
Yeah, the idea with this is not to make it so people can't have people lining up for their business. It's to provide a framework so the city can help give good conditions and make sure that where people are standing, it's safe for everyone and safe for people passing by, and not, again, it gives the city the tool to condition that use of the public right of way in a way that is helpful for the business and for everyone else trying to use the public right of way.
I do have just one more question. I think it's very clear how these addresses, solicitation of money for services and merchandise. How does this address busking?
You mean like with singing?
Like
playing for
playing in the
money.
street, yeah.
So that I think would be under the sidewalk. So this is more related to like brick and mortar businesses that are then trying to sell on the public right of way. If you don't have a business that you're associated with that actually is physically there, then you're going to be under the sidewalk vending ordinance, and you need a sidewalk vendor permit to be operating in the city. So I think that's where a busker type person would fall under.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wonder if the difference between is, the solicitation of tips or how that is presented. But if that's another matter altogether, then I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, I think so, because this is relating to solicitation from businesses,
Okay.
like out their door on the public sidewalk.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Whereas I think it's Title 4, Chapter 4 is the sidewalk vending.
Okay.
I think your carts with the fruit and all that, like that type of
Okay,
vending. But I
that's a
think
different thing altogether.
busking
Okay.
would fall under that because they're not associated with a brick and mortar, just
Okay.
trying to like put their table out in
Okay,
front of their
okay.
store, or standing out there waving you down, trying to get you into their store, right?
Okay.
That's the distinction, but they're both regulated.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other question, I'm going to open it up to public comment. If there's anyone here that would like to comment on this item, please come up.
I assume it's on. Good evening. One of the businesses is Brecky's, which I own.
I'm sorry. Please,
I'm sorry, Aaron
not everybody that
Peterson,
knows you.
Aaron Peterson, Solvang. 1816 Old Road, Solvang. So one of the
You're-
businesses that is in violation or is encroaching is obviously Brecky's. And we've worked with code enforcement to try to figure it out. It's really difficult to do. The sidewalk in front of Brecky's is 6.5 feet wide. If we keep the folks and leave 48 inches, they can stand there and we can do pylons and we can, as long as the city says, no, it has to be 48 inches sidewalk and 48 inches for lines. There's no sidewalks that are 8 feet wide on Mission Drive for darn sure. A lot of it is on Mission Drive because of Caltrans. I'm sure that's what it is. We've widened sidewalks throughout the town. So we're kind of hamstrung a little bit because of that. There are lots of sidewalks on Mission that are not 40
Bless you.
inches wide. Handicap accessibility on Atterdag and Mission. They're not, you can't even get to the ramp. There's 32 inches on both sides of a stoplight. So we have lots of places that are narrow. We're not talking really about that. We're talking about the individual businesses, or at least the seasonality of it. Back to Councilwoman Arona's point, there's no way for us to predict it on a day-to-day basis. If a group shows up at a restaurant where there's Paula's or Olson's Bakery or Jeff Paskey's Solvang Restaurant or the Sausage Garden or Brecky's, they show up and it's really impossible to go out and stop them if you've got 3 people trying to work and you're out there saying, okay, folks, now you've got to go away somewhere and come back. It just doesn't work. And having to do it on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis, hour to hour, we need it right now, is really tough. So year-long encroachment, coming up with reasonable things. The city's been really reasonable in dealing with it. I don't think they've been harsh at all in enforcing it. So that was really it. If we're talking about Jeff Paskey's and the window, if you eliminate a parking and let him queue up in 1 or 2 parking spots, does he have to pay $15,000 for that parking spot, like an in lieu fee to the city, or is that just a temporary thing for weekends? So there's a lot of devil in the details that we can work. Mortenson's is easy. We got a 12-foot sidewalk. We can do it. We can pull them in off the other side. So some businesses are easy, some are not. It's not a one all fits everybody. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present that would like to say anything? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, I don't see any. So I will close it to public comment for the moment and bring it back to the council for their direction.
May I make one more
Please.
comment here? I don't think the intent is for there to be a need for any time the line gets long to call the city and say, I need, an encroachment permit. It would be that you set it up ahead of time, get the permit, and then when there is a long line, you have a plan for how to manage the line of people in consistent with the encroachment permit and on the right of way. So just wanted to clarify that we don't intend it to be like a on call, I need one now type situation.
Right.
And it's also to help raise awareness, again, I've fielded several complaints from adjacent business owners to some of these ones that have the chronic lines out front, and they are being accosted by some of the customers for asking them to clear the doorway so that their customers can get in and out. So, like so many of the rules and codes that exist in this city and basically throughout the world, it's being driven by the few that are causing the problem, not being polite and allowing that and making understanding or just be plain ignorant of the fact that, and I don't mean ignorant like stupid, I just mean ignorant that they're not aware of the need to keep the sidewalk clear. And by having the owner of these establishments be made aware, and they will, it's not an intent to go down, and we're certainly not doing it to generate revenue. We're trying to just raise a level of awareness and the civility necessary to help keep Solvang special.
Functionality, right? Just provide easy access to everyone's business.
Okay. I would entertain any motions that you'd like to come up with.
This is just a first reading, right, Chelsea?
Yes, it'd be introduction for first reading, and I was going to ask to clarify if there is introduction tonight. We could introduce the ordinance as is, and then staff could bring back a separate cleanup ordinance to address the bike issue in that one particular section, if that is
And the
agreeable.
issues that you already identified, kind of a couple overlaps, you said? Just, you said you saw some other areas to clean up.
Oh, we did address those in
Okay.
this ordinance,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, that's
Thank
partly
you.
why there's sections that got added, because we were cleaning things up. So for example, this chapter used to define a central business district, which was essentially coextensive with the VMU. So instead of having that separate concept, we replaced removed that separate definition, made it refer to the VMU, and changed the cross references. So that's why that bike section is even being edited. But we can bring that section back to separately to clarify the language and make it more clear that bikes are allowed on the road, and let the rest of this proceed if that works for the council.
Yeah, again, I might go back to that section and maybe eliminate holiday decorations or something along those lines. That
Okay, I mean, if there are edits that, the other way to do this is to give staff direction on the sections that you would like changes, and we can bring it back for reintroduction at the next meeting. That is also totally available to the council as well. So if there's two places.
unless there's an urgency for this to move forward.
No.
Yeah, we'll just
Okay, so
wait for your
Yeah.
edits and improvements for the next meeting.
Okay, and so the two items that you'd like to see changes on are the edits to section 839E to make it clearer that bikes are allowed on public streets. And then it'd be section 832A to clarify that holiday or, limited duration holiday decorations are permitted.
You're the wordsmith.
That's what
Yeah,
the
thank you.
concept that you'd like, though, right? Is
Yes.
okay.
Makes sense. I like that.
Okay. Then we can now move on to item 8C then, unless there's reason to hold up. Okay. Would you read item 8C into the record for us, please?
Discussion and possible direction to staff regarding investigation into the protection of the city of Solvang's logos, slogans, and overall brand through trademarks and/or copyrights.
Okay, very well. I'm going to, because my company owns a trademark, I am going to recuse myself and be absent from this conversation. And if you'd notify me when you're finished. Okay.
Ah, you're trusting me again.
Would you like me to do the staff report?
Yes. Thank you.
Be happy to, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. So this item, briefly, staff is requesting direction on whether the council would like staff to investigate if there are any intellectual property, like trademarks or copyrights, that the city could pursue for its logos, slogans, and overall brand. I will say that, there's going to be certain things, like, for example, the city seal, that just by statute are not copyrightable. But we can investigate if there are other aspects of the city's branding that we could copyright. For example, I know in the past, the city trademarked a centennial logo that, it's not the city seal, but it was a particular logo to celebrate the centennial of the city's founding. That's an example of something that might be able to be trademarked. And yeah, just whether the council is interested in staff looking into that. And then we would, if you were, we would do some research, bring back recommendations of what, if anything, or maybe nothing of what we've branded that is potentially eligible for getting a trademark or copyright. We provided in the staff report kind of the basic definition of those types of intellectual property. We're not sure how much it costs to do that at this point, but that would be something that we would investigate, how much effort it would take to do that type of an application. Because again, when the last time the city did this, it was quite a while ago, and we don't, Dave thinks it was about $1,000, but I doubt that's a real accurate or helpful assessment at this point. So just wanted to get your direction before expending resources. Just for some context, for example, my firm also represents the city of Beverly Hills. They have a very strong brand that they promote, and they put the city seal on a lot of different, things. But again, they're not able to trademark that because the city seals just can't be copyrighted or trademarked in that way. So that's an example of, even if you use it a lot in the marketplace or put it on your website, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be copyrightable or able to be made into a trademark. However, we are happy to investigate should the council direct.
Chelsea, what's the, we've paid for as a city for things like logos and content that we use on our websites and we use to promote the city in Visit SYV or through our PR or our presence in magazines, things like that. How protected are we if we took no action? When I read some of the codes for, I think it's code 1090, it looks like it's only protecting us in the state of California. How protected are we if we do nothing for things that we've paid for?
So a couple of things to unpack there. The copyright and trademark, that's a federal level law. So if that was pursued, that would be, at the for anybody in the United States, right? Not just under California law. However, just because we paid for it as part of like a marketing package doesn't necessarily mean that it meets the requirements to be trademarked or copyrighted. For example, for a trademark, I think we would need to do the research, but my understanding is it has to have some originality, uniqueness, but you also have to be using it in commerce. And so I feel that might be a hurdle for the city in the sense that even if we created it, paid for it, and we put it on our website and our materials, like we're not selling it as a trademarked, or excuse me, like
No, I don't think that trademark is not meant to generate revenue. It's meant to have a layer of governance over how the Solvang assets and the Solvang brand gets used and represented.
Right, and there's going to be criteria to meet to qualify for that intellectual property protection, and that's the research we need to do, is to figure out if any of the things that cities paid for even meet those criteria. And then if they do, then there's this decision of whether you as a council, which we would bring back, whether you as a council would even want to pursue that. The other thing to consider is even if you are successful in trademarking something, it's not self-enforcing, right? The city would have to then expend resources to go after whoever, if anyone, is using your intellectual property in a way that you don't like. That's time, resources, money. You may want to put that direction or not. I think there's going to be, once we come back with the potential recommendations for what, if anything, even fits in these buckets, like that's the next layer of the conversation is like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
But I don't think we have enough information right now for you all to even assess that.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, have we been in a situation in the past that somebody has been using?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I know with the Centennial one, that was the fear that they would have spent this money the city would have spent the money to create the Centennial logo, and then all the t-shirt shops were going to profit off of it. And, so they went ahead and trademarked the logo, but then nobody used it. Nobody else besides the city used it. And so I don't know if it's hard to say now if that's because we trademarked it and nobody wanted to pay us to use the image or because nobody was going to use it in the first place. I don't know.
I think it's interesting that we're having this conversation because I think we need to think about why what we are trying to be protected from. It makes sense that we would want to have a certain branding as the city of Solvang so that people can identify when the city is doing communications and requests and things like that. But to have a conversation about we want to have control over how the city is marketed, that's an uphill battle. You cannot copyright names of cities. Lots of businesses are using the name Solvang. There's Solvang Nails, Solvang Tours, Solvang Ghost Tours, Solvang Trolley, Solvang Restaurant, Solvang whatever. There's lots of different logos and images that use windmills and have timbered style buildings. And even if you copyright one particular very specific logo, somebody's gonna go into ChatGPT and ask them to produce another one that looks nearly identical. So
That's true.
you're
All
not
those
gonna be able to control how somebody uses whatever imagery or pictures produced to market their businesses. And also, I think it's a good idea. It's good if somebody's using Solvang content to put the city more out there. That's free marketing that we are not paying for. So unless this conversation is about differentiating city-produced information or content versus marketing, I don't know why it is worth pursuing marketing, or pursuing copywriting something and then spending the money on saying who can use it and who not. It would make sense if we were a private enterprise and we were CEOs of Disneyland and everything belongs to Mickey Mouse and only Mickey Mouse can tell
So-
how it is marketed. But it's not. It's a city. It's it's public. It's so it's.
I
here's
just
the
wa-
issues I see. I think here's why we're talking about it.
Sorry to
Go ahead.
I just think we're getting into discussion, so I want to make sure we take public comment. And so if we can hold that thought and come right back to it.
All right, so do we have any comments from our audience? No? Anything online? Anything? No? Okay. All right.
Thank you, Member Rona.
Bring it
So
back to the council.
first thing is, when you use public money to create assets that the city uses, because we spend money to market the city, we spend millions of taxpayer money to generate content, to enter into marketing agreements, to have a visitor center that acts as a concierge for the city, to create logos. And the ungoverned use, where we don't have where it is freewheeling and we have no say over who uses it or how it's used, it has the potential of false endorsement from the city and potential for misusing public funds that we just go off out into the public domain. So why would we pay for that? Why wouldn't we just use public content? But we don't. The second issue is, you brought up that lots of companies use their City of Solvang in their name or Solvang in their name. And there's no issue with that either. That's a geographic specific presence that represents those businesses. But when you lift it out into a digital arena and anybody in the world could represent our city and its brand or our businesses or what you can do, you have the risk of derogatory use, and you have the risk of, using branding assets that we have today governance over. So, so far everything's been great, right? But we have an example where, although the mayor said it, that he didn't use any city assets, his video representing his business to his potential businesses, sponsors as he calls them, is frame by frame. The exact video that rolls when you land on the solvangusa.com website. Exact video. So he is reusing assets that we have solicited and paid for.
that particular video also, if you go to the bottom of it, is copyrighted. So Solvang USA, I believe, is put out by JPA. Aren't they the ones that, I'm sorry? TJA, thank you, sorry. And we pay them considerable amount of money to do all of that. But if you go to that video on the bottom, it has a copyright with a 2026 date on it. Sure, it's copyrighted every year. I presume it is. And if that's being used by somebody without asking permission or paying for it, I think that's the issue that we're talking about.
Well, if that is the case and somebody's misusing it, couldn't you just ask whoever is using it to not using? I don't know if it requires copywriting every single content that we create. And also, it sounds that our marketing agency already reserves some rights for them to over the governments of their content. So
Think about it differently, Claudia. You're asking the inverse. If you would suggest that these assets are going to be governed and controlled, and we have the right to do that, we don't have to police. It's instead making entities self-police because we have the right to cause legal action. In the absence of that, it is freewheeling. It's public domain.
If a creative asset is copyrighted, it's up to the individual who owns that copyright to enforce it. Just because we paid for it doesn't mean we own that copyright.
It's just like what we say at the bottom of our website, all rights reserved, right? Copyrighted material at the bottom of our solvangusa.website. So we've notified anybody, right, that you can't copy and paste digitally from our website,
well, then that's
as an example.
okay, but then that's already done. We reserve the right. So if we don't like how somebody's using the asset, we can just take legal action then. I don't think that warrants having a broader conversation about we specifically get copyrighted or not.
And also, I've done a little bit of research, not much, but some. There are numerous categories for copyrights, trademarks. So if you have a business in one industry and you only copyright in that industry, and somebody else has a different industry, you can use it, and it's not, the copyright doesn't protect you. Copyrights, trademarks typically are not enforceable in other countries. This is also a U.S. thing. So for instance, if we did go through the effort to do this, and somebody from China decided to use our logo or whatever, that's not enforceable either. So that's also something to consider.
It's not enforceable outside the country. So a T-shirt manufacturer in China can print off as many millions of I Love New York T-shirts and not be penalized. But in the U.S., City of New York has total governance over that. And licensing rights, as an example.
Okay, but
If the state of New York owns that copyright, I don't think we know that, or if that is copyrighted.
There's a whole bunch of legal cases over that.
Okay. The point is that it's only the person or the entity who actually holds it that's going to be able to enforce, right? Like it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone.
Are we talking about how we enforce or that we should?
Or that should we spend the money to enforce it? I think with all the things that we have to do, I don't know if that is a good use of city resources.
Well,
I actually, it's interesting. Solvang Trolley is a good example of licensing where we have issued a contract, right, for your participation in a business in the city. And that's a good example of governance. And it says that the city has a role in, what kind of business or that we, kind of have an opinion about what happens on the streets of the city and how those business service is delivered.
Yeah, but that has more to do with the way that it operates, preventing it from being a nuisance. It doesn't really have anything to do with the name of Solvang or
No,
the
it
representative of
doesn't.
the city.
And I would say that's not a debate because
The
it is
license.
geographically specific business, which you have a right to say it's a Solvang trolley business.
And just to be clear, the license that you're referring to is there's a section in the code, which I know you all know this, but just for the general public, there's a section in the code that requires a permit, and we call it a license in the code for some reason, for operation of the trolleys. That is not, the business so happens to be called Solvang Trolley, but the license that's being issued there has nothing to do with the business's name. It's about the operations and the type of, the fact that it's a trolley business, because the ordinance requires any trolley business to have a permit.
If you want to get into this really tough, how about calling ourselves the Danish capital of America? Can we? There's no way
That's
we
a good
can
example of a slogan that can be trademarked or copyrighted. It's a really good example because, what if someone decides to market us as the
Norwegian.
Disneyland Danish capital of America? You can make a derogatory term out of it too.
But that does happen. There's tons of people that go out there and talk about the city in whatever terms that they had. You're never going to be able to stop anybody saying whatever
Well, it's
they
freedom of
want.
speech.
Exactly.
But if they're using it specifically to market for a business or an entity that's, generating a service or revenue.
Well, they're marketing their business. They're not marketing the city.
Yeah,
I don't think we're talking about influencers. We're talking about businesses that would inherit a benefit of value for the use of a city asset or a city slogan or a city branded. It's really just an argument. Do you think that Solvang has a brand? And I think we do. And is it worth protecting?
Well, then I guess the issue then is if somebody that we don't like or we don't agree how they're using the content that we've created, we can just request them to not do it, right? It's not, we don't need to go through the process of copywriting or trademarking anything to be able to do that.
You're assuming that they would pay attention and do what you ask them to do. So if you
Well, I
if you
think
can't
if they
do-
have if they have a city threatening to sue them or cease and desist, then yeah, they will have to pay attention to that.
maybe.
As far as the slogan, I mean, that's exactly why we're asking for direction tonight. We would want to research whether Danish capital of America is something that meets the criteria to be protected.
Be good to know.
So if that's the direction that the council gives, that's something we could look into. I think, if there is something that is copyrightable or trademarked, I just want it to be clear that it's going to be for a very specific, logo or phrase or, very specific. And so any iterations of that won't be protected. And it also is, it only, protects that one thing. It doesn't like member Claudia Rona is explaining, it doesn't stop anyone. You can't say because we want Solvang's slogan to be Danish capital of America, no one else can say any other slogan about Solvang. Like that's not how it would work even if we were able to trademark it, right? Like other people could still describe Solvang in any way that they want. So just want to kind of clarify the limitations of these potential tools should we even fit the criteria.
But we do have a number of iconic pictures and slogans that might be worth, protecting. And I know we can't look at everything, but we've got our lovely lady. We've got, we've got slogans. We've got Danish capital,
Right.
So,
And we have to consider too, if even though we've been using the mermaid and if it's not original, even though we've taken on that imagery, if it's not original to something that the city's created, that's going to be another limitation. And if it's like a public,
Yeah,
it's something
I
that's
see your
available to
point,
the
Chelsea, because
public.
there is this exact statue in Denmark.
Right.
But how So think about this. Do we call that a seal or a logo? This,
I think that's a seal. So that's,
Okay,
by
so that's
statute,
default.
that's going to be it's public
Not usable.
domain. Yeah.
if we've paid for something to be created, if we've contracted it and we get an asset or an artifact as a deliverable, are we willing to let others use it freely for marketing, representing, inheriting the distinctive brand of our city for free and to benefit from that? Or are we willing to understand what we could do to protect it?
So how big of an effort is this?
I mean,
Give us an idea.
I mean, I can tell you that it costs, to trademark something, $7,000, give it or take. It's inconsequential for a city. It's more like going through the legal process that is really where the cost is.
once you have it, how much are you going to spend to enforce it if somebody does start using it? Because it's not self-enforcing. Like, you're going to have to sue whoever.
So if you have to
using
sue
it.
anyway,
But that's kind of the next step down the road. Even should we identify anything?
I
to
don't think
apply.
we have to assume lawsuits. I think there's a big natural preventative benefit that you get when you trademark or copyright.
Yeah,
I mean, you all
basically.
want to spend 7,000 grand to copyright it or trademark every single asset we produce, that's fine. I don't think that's a good use of resources.
So the direction staff is asking for tonight is whether to research what, if any, of the city's current marketing, elements of the brand, essentially, like if there's logos we've created or other assets, investigate whether those could be even copyrighted and trademarked, and then we'll come back with.
Yeah, I think that
I don't have a list of what we would investigate, so I can't give you a good estimate on the hours that would take legal wise. But I do know this is an issue that has come up for other cities, and so to the extent that I can build off of research that my colleagues have done, I will.
Well, here's a question. If this came up because of a particular asset that the city paid for, and a third party that is using it without authorized, it was created by our marketing agency, right? Is that?
I don't know particularly who created it. It may have been them. It may have been an influencer that gave us permission to use it.
Okay, because then I think if that is the entity that owns it, then that would be the entity to be interested in enforcing it or not.
if they created it for us, Claudia, under contract, it's our content, it's our IP. I mean, it's a video of Solvang. I don't know who else would want to use it if you weren't marketing Solvang or trying to make this a destination.
But the creative artwork, or in this case, video, is not. It's not ours. It's copyrighted by somebody else. Unless they've assigned it to us. I don't know this particular one.
We have an asset library, right?
We have an asset library, but that's not all. It's not all our creative. It's other people's creative. They've given us permission to use it. Oftentimes, you'll see picture by so and so.
You just made the point, Randy.
Credit,
They've given us permission.
right?
You
But
just made the point.
that doesn't mean we own it. That's
Exactly. But in exchange, or the other half of that coin is, are we giving, we have no position on whether we're giving permission or not
I think
for use of a digital asset, for example, or a slogan or a logo. So I'm simply suggesting in the absence of, when you're silent, it's implied permission, and then therefore it's implied endorsement for someone to use something we've, in theory, paid for.
So, if we were given direction to research this further, I think that would be one of the distinctions we would make is in our portfolio of assets, which ones is the city licensing from other entities, in which case we're just licensed to use it. We're not going to be in a position to enforce that other entity's intellectual copyright for them, even if someone else is using it without permission. And frankly, we don't know if another entity got permission to use something that we're licensing. So that's one bucket. Another bucket would be things that we've either by contract or our own application have the intellectual property for. And then another bucket would be things that don't have any intellectual property protection that the city might want to pursue applying for trademark or copyright. That's the research that needs to be done and brought back if the council would like to give that direction.
I think there's really simple three categories. It's logos, it's digital assets or assets that we've paid for creation, and it's slogans that in combination, you create a brand that is so associated with the city because we're using it on our Solvang USA websites that if it is reused without some layer of governance or permission, it creates false endorsement.
Okay, so what we want to do then, I think, is ask you to give us some evaluation of what might be something we need to look at. And I would think things we can't look at. And the third part of that would be, how do we even know unless somebody happens to see it? Do we have anybody that looks at this stuff? How are we going to find out if somebody's using it? The case in this case, it came up for a couple of reasons, but generally we don't know. So we need to have some kind.
A private company, they have people that's their job is to go, like Coca-Cola, right? Like they go around and
Check all the, yeah.
there's people who do that full time. That's part of the enforcement side of it that I'm suggesting is another policy decision point. But you've put out there some direction. If we have a majority of,
I think we investigate it, Mark. We can choose case by case. It can be, ad hoc or as arise, whether we pursue something or not. But we can operate knowing that we're protected.
So you're going to ask, so
That's
we're
two.
going to ask them to
Yeah.
look
I
Need
at
a
think it's at
majority.
least like we're worth pursuing. I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of money on it and time, but at least look at some of we've got clear logos, clear visuals and everything. At least look at that and report back and let us know. And then we can make a final decision on that.
part of the problem, I think, for instance, Huntington Beach is called Surf City, but so is Santa Cruz. One of the things we'd have to do is go look at Danish Capital of America and see if anybody else is even using that to see if we have anything to stand on. So there has to be a lot of research done. But
Yeah, and I guess I'll say there will be some research done, but these questions are not, like, we're not the first city to ask them. And so to the extent that I can build on research that's already been
Yeah.
done for other clients, I will. And we'll report back.
Yeah, I mean,
Sounds like I've got
whatever you guys
direction.
want to do, but from what I've seen in past cases, it's an uphill battle. I don't think it's worth for Solvang to pursue it.
I think I've got direction from 3 out of 4, so we will work on that and bring something back.
You don't need a motion or anything?
No, this is just to direct staff. I know there's just recommended action is to provide direction to staff, so I think we've got that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dennis is we're like, he's leaving us. Can we still have our meeting?
He's like, he's leaving.
Did you hear me, Dennis?
Okay. Item 8C is concluded. So we can move on to item 9. Or any closing comments for the? Yes.
yeah, just one, a request. We're trying to talk to each other and go to look at 8C, so we're just going, what page? There's no page numbers. Is it possible to put page numbers on these documents so that we have an easier way to, relate to each other what page we're talking about? That would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Sorry, I have to concur because I even real time, I couldn't find the language twice that we were talking about in the meeting. So page numbers would be huge.
I tend to agree.
It,
Can I make another comment? I don't know if it's appropriate, but I just want to also state that I was not aware of this app that the mayor owns until the end of the closing comments at the end of our last meeting. And just want to make that very clear that I was not aware of that.
If I could ask some clarification on the page number comment, would it be sufficient that each hyperlinked document has its own page numbers? So at least when we're viewing that we have page numbers to follow? Or, sorry, my microphone just got me. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. We'll try
report.
for that. I think we can do that, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Unless there's anything else, I'll wish everybody a very happy St. Patrick's Day when it comes around, Mr. Murphy especially. And thank you very much for everything and everyone. We are adjourned at 8:15.